Welcome to You Here Big Girls, Attack on Titan podcast. I'm Momtaku.
And I'm Luna, and today we're joined by our two favorite guests from Titan Tea Time and also nowadays Umami Manga podcast, Petter and James. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Great to have you guys.
Unlike us, you guys aren't slackers. You still regularly record podcasts about manga and anime. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I guess we could briefly mention Titan Tea Time podcast, which we used to be doing back in the day around the same time as You Hear Big Girls was active, is no longer active at all. Although I did used to think of it as kind of the little brother podcast to You Hear Big Girls, as like you guys being like the big sister podcast to ours. I don't know. Anyway,
I like that.
Umami Manga is the podcast that we're currently doing, and that we've been doing since 2020. And it's just a general manga podcast where we cover various manga series volume by volume.
Yeah, instead of chapter by chapter that we had been doing previously with Titan Tea Time, volume by volume. So very much a different experience. We're not analyzing every single frame, although sometimes I end up doing that. Petter has to hold me back. It's like, come on, we got to focus.
And you guys put new content out every 2 weeks?
Yes, every other Friday.
Oh, wow.
Why can't we do that, Luna? Why are we such slackers all the time?
Because you are super busy. It's not my fault. I wish we could still do that, but yeah.
All right. But today we're here to talk about the Attack on Titan musical, which 3 of the 4 of us saw on October 14th. And I want to start this out by saying I got back from New York City, and I have a coworker who's into anime and manga, and like Bleach, Naruto, Demon Slayer, all kind of the typical shonen type stuff. And he asked how my vacation was, and I was like, "Oh, it was great.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the Attack on Titan musical in New York City." And he looked at me and he's like, "I have no idea where to start with that. Number one, the Attack on Titan has a musical. It made it to New York City. And the last one was that I was there. And I guess at work, maybe I hide being an otaku very well because he was shocked. But anyway, it got me thinking about that sentence, the Attack on Titan musical in New York City. I mean, it had to 5 years ago, 10 years, 2 years ago, if I had heard that sentence, I wouldn't have believed it. But somehow 3 of us made it there. I guess, James, what when you heard those words, Attack on Titan musical in New York City, how long did it take you to decide to buy a ticket and travel to go see it?
It took me that evening to decide when I heard about it. I automatically knew that I was interested because I just had to see how in the world they would do a musical. And plus, I was feeling very nostalgic and very, I guess, not lonely, but I wanted the Attack on Titan experience again, and this is going to be a great way, I thought. And I love going to New York City as well, so it really checked a lot of boxes for me, and I was able to find some cash to get up there and buy the ticket as well. So that's what I did that evening, or when I decided that evening that they announced it, but then when the tickets went up, I quickly got one.
And Petter, I know you're busy with school right now, but was there any chance that you were going to book a ticket from your far-flung country and join us?
For this, as things are currently in my life, no, sadly. There wasn't really a chance at all. I am very jealous, though, that the 3 of you got to meet up in person.
Yeah, I'm still sad you weren't able to come.
Yeah.
Would have been nice to have all 4 of the gang there.
Agreed.
Totally.
As it was, we kidnapped James. I don't know if he told you that or not, but we literally kidnapped him, put his bag in our hotel room, took the keys, and just made him hang out with us. So.
I felt like a lost puppy that they adopted for that evening. They're just come on, James, we're going here next. Okay, Granted, I've been to New York City. I knew some of the places and things like that, but it was nice being with them and their friends and just having the chance to geek out about the musical and everything that was there.
So I know me and Luna, our decision to go to New York, our paths were a little different. I would kind of was you, James. I thought about it for a few minutes and money is never great and it's a lot of money to go to New York City. Yeah. So I called up my friend who went to Anime NYC with me. She's like great travel buddy. I love her. She loves the series as much as I do. We get on great. I'm like, let's do this. We'll just go up and we'll go back. We can make it a day trip. We can stay at my brother-in-law's place. Like we can keep this like just really cheap and just get it done. And she was like hype. So we bought tickets instantly. And that was the plan. And then Luna found out and yeah.
I was not pleased because I was not included in that discussion at all. I was like, so I was supposed to come to Anime New York City as well, but unfortunately I was pretty sick that year, so I couldn't come. So I was like, okay, there's another Attack on Titan event in New York again. Of course I'm going to come. And she didn't even ask me.
Yeah, because you're not going to fly across the ocean for a weekend.
Well, no, it's not just for the musical. Obviously, I was going to do a whole trip. Like, I'm not just going to fly in for a weekend and a musical.
I know.
No, that's
Anyway, I apologize. It worked out. We ended up like getting a whole vacation and everything together. And we did end up getting to see the Attack on Titan musical.
Mm-hmm. Just not seated next to each other.
No. But I mean, that honestly worked out because I'm going to ask you a question later about the people you met when you were there, and you met some interesting people. So
that's true. Right. Okay, let's go.
I'm going to throw this to our theater guy, James.
Yeah.
Did you think Attack on Titan worked as a musical?
That is a great question because you could take it a couple ways. I think the stage production was pretty decent for this smaller stage that they were working with. I was really impressed with the Titans props that they used. And then, of course, the 3-dimension moving gear. Gosh, I can't even remember names anymore. The tight ropes and things like that. That was pretty impressive how they timed that. But long story short, I think that as Attack on Titan, the story, it does not work. It kind of clashes, when you start seeing like the townsfolk, going into like breakdance and things as the Titans are, storming the city. There feels to be like disconnect, like some sort of dissonance there that it's fun as a fan because like, what? This is amazing. What is happening? And they're really talented. But yeah, the dancing and some of the musical numbers, although some were good, they did feel a little odd, I will say. But as a performance, as theatrical performances go, I didn't think it was terrible, and I actually think they did some pretty cool stuff, especially with the choreography. There was a lot of cool dancing, but getting the story and the arc that they decided to tell onto the stage and into the time that they had, it did feel forced. I mean, when you throw in a musical number at the very end after it's all done, and you just say, okay, story's done, but we have more. Like, it seems like you didn't know what to do with this. Like, I don't know. Clearly, Attack on Titan should not be only appreciated as a musical.
No.
That's the lowest thing. But as a Attack on Titan fan, I had a good time.
Was it lower though than the live action movies?
I haven't seen the movies I should.
Have you seen the movie?
I have, and it sucks. I didn't see the live action the musical stage musical though, so I can't compare either.
You haven't seen any of the footage from the musical?
I've only seen there's something very brief only, like barely anything.
Because we were able to record the final number they did.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you saw that.
They let us do that.
No, I didn't see that, sadly.
Okay, so you're completely blind going into this podcast recording.
Yeah, I'm very
musical.
curious to hear. Well, and actually something that I'd like to know, and I guess for me and for those listening who haven't seen the musical, what part of the story did the musical cover? Like, how far into the story did it go?
Well, let me tell you, they covered the beginning of the anime up until the end of the Trost arc, sorta, because they were about to plug the hole in the wall, and then it ended unresolved. They
didn't even plug it?
No, they never got to that part.
What?
No, and the worst part of it is that they eradicated an entire storyline by not including Reiner, Bertold, and Annie. They were completely gone. So if they ever want to continue the story, like, it's not possible based on this musical. It only works as a standalone story.
That's crazy.
The look on your face.
They reference
reference.
Reiner. They do.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
do
very,
think,
very slight reference. As
And
in, like,
he was
oh, you
in
should
the
ask
show.
Reiner.
He was in the show as the armor type.
Yeah, as
Oh,
the
yeah,
armor
right.
Titan, yeah.
And Bert
Fair.
as
And
the
Bird as
Colossal.
the Colossal, yeah. But
Yeah.
no Annie, no female Titan, no nothing.
yeah, so basically it covered the first 11 chapters of the manga. That's it. And it stops at this crazy moment where Eren is accepted as a member of a Survey Corps because they have this idea that he can plug the hole. And yay, humanity's going to have their first victory against the Titans. Let's sing
We'll
about
keep
it.
fighting. And then, they pull a bunch of one-liners in there from the show, tatakae, things like that, just to try to wrap it up. And then, okay, now we have a musical number. Like,
Okay, so I'm going to defend it just a little bit. So I
please.
remember reading the manga. I remember reading chapter 11 and having that. Now, I did not know, I'm new to the story. I don't know what's going to happen. But I remember having that same feeling of optimism, like, oh, okay. Like, this is why, Luna, you kept saying wrong manga. Because, like, all along I was waiting for this, oh, yay, this is going to be great. And honestly, like, it ending there at that moment, knowing how the story ends. Yeah, okay.
Wrong manga.
We're recording this with video on so we can see each other. And I wish we could share it because, like, James just broke out into a hip hop dance a few minutes ago. And now Luna's showing us her. I know. But anyway, I was like, to me, I guess if it took me back to, like, how I felt in the first 11 chapters that maybe this was going to be okay. And honestly, like, it broke me up. Like I didn't cry. Well, maybe I did cry a little bit at the end.
Yeah, you did.
But knowing what's coming and remembering how Eren was just so innocent and good and ready and willing and like this is not who the story ended with. And seeing him like that and remembering that moment destroyed me.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, if you had no basis for Attack on Titan, just first off, kudos to you to watching the musical, I guess. Going out there and just seeing whatever show is out there. But I imagine you were lost a little bit.
I would assume so.
Or didn't enjoy it as much as the fans. I think this is definitely meant for the hardcore fans, the people who know the story. And like you, Momtaku, were able to look back in hindsight and say, wow, this is where we used to be. And now look how it ended. I mean, not, the tragic ending that we got.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually thought it worked well. I guess it's hard for me. So, and James, I don't know, when you lived in Japan, if you ever got to see any anime musicals or anime.
No, unfortunately, I did not.
All right. So I did some reading into it, and the style is called 2.5D. And, if you go into like James was saying, if you wandered in off Broadway into this theater and you sat down, you would be so freaking confused. You would have no idea because it's not a Broadway musical. It's not, this is a 1 week performance. It's limited visuals. Yeah. It's not as long as a traditional Broadway performance. There's not the budget of a Broadway performance. It's if you went in there expecting Les Mis, I mean, no, you'd be mortified at what had happened. But as far as these 2.5D musicals go, like you said, James, they're for the fans and they're just so much fun.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, a couple of the scenes, like you were saying, I agree, James, like that kind of jarring dissonance of people dying and their like heartfelt singing and dancing felt like a little, unnerving. But I thought some moments worked really, really well. And I don't know if you guys felt the same way. Like, were there any moments that stood out to you as being like, you saw the moment with new eyes or new feelings? Was there anything that just really stood out to you?
I think for me, there's two examples I'll give. First off was Carla's death. I think her song to Eren, and they're kind of back and forth in a way. It's one of the most emotional moments in the series, and I think they did that pretty well. They kind of had to use they used like a blue screen to show the death and everything like that, but or a teleprompter, I don't know what you call it, but that was good. And then the other one that I I wanted to like more, so I guess it's kind of a negative side, unfortunately, is Mikasa's song, or like her moment where, she decides to stand up and keep fighting, even though it looks like she's about to die. The song just kind of fell flat to me. I felt like they could have given her a better one, but that's just me being the Mikasa fanboy that I am. I mean, I'm glad she was there, but I felt like they could have done a little bit more for that.
What about you, Luna?
It's hard to say.
No Reiner, negative 100 points.
I know, terrible. Like they had every other little, unnamed side character almost was present there, and then no Reiner. It was so weird, but it's like they couldn't even just like have him there in the background and just cut out their side story of his friendship with Eren and the rest of the gang being like a big brother to them. No, he just wasn't there at all. It's so strange. Anyway, I do like having a new type of medium, seeing it brought to life, but it looks like the cat is sitting on your head.
I thought it was going to be easier to edit this way, but
no, it's not.
I'm sorry.
Petter's cat is like on the cat tower behind him, and it literally looks like he's wearing a cat hat, and it's incredibly cute. That is the most beautiful cat.
Cute.
She's so sweet. Okay.
I'm sorry, Luna.
It's okay. I'll start over, I guess.
No, keep going. I'm not editing this. We're all
Screw you. Anyway, I did enjoy the medium. It's a new medium. They were all original songs, so that was interesting. I did like that about it, and I will say the the singing was really good. I would say they were all very talented. Dancing as well, it looked well rehearsed, fluid. So it's a new fun way to experience some of the story.
11 chapters.
Yes, sort of.
11 chapters of the story.
With some omissions here and there. But other than that, it's kind of weird because the whole thing is in Japanese, so you want to also look at the translations, but they were on like these big like screens on the side of the stage, so you would have to diverge your gaze from what's happening on the stage to read the subtitles, or side titles, I guess in this case, and you would be going back and forth, and it was just kind of like, okay, do I want to focus on the story that I kind of already know, or do I want to focus on the performance? Yeah. If you don't even know the story, you're totally screwed, because you're like, oh my god.
So I agree with James that the moment with Carla. So Petter, I want you to imagine this, okay? Carla is in the rubble. The video screen behind her shows the Dyna Titan like looming over her as things are happening in the background.
Oh wait, so the Titan is on a screen, not
on a screen
like,
behind
in this case, yeah.
Gotcha.
And it looked amazing. It looked amazing. Okay, it was like anyway. She's buried under this rubble. The rubble's on the stage. She's on the stage. She's singing her heart out. Eren is crying, and she's singing a lullaby. It destroyed me. Like, I was like an absolute lullaby. And, we can't record any of that. I do think there are DVDs of the performance that you can purchase. But choosing to make that moment a lullaby, I thought was genius. And it absolutely destroyed me. Like, that movie, that moment hurt, no matter how you read. I mean, that's the moment that hooked a lot of people on the series. Yeah. But seeing it as this back and forth children's lullaby, just devastating.
Yeah.
That sounds cool. Did they have a younger actor for Eren and Mikasa and Armin for the Fall of Shiganshina part? No. Did that feel jarring? Or kind of weird that they were older? Or
not really.
Or did it work?
I mean, they were all grown people playing children anyway. So at that point, if they're playing like 8-year-olds or 12-year-olds or 15-year-olds, it's kind of all the same at that point.
I thought it worked really well. Like, there was that transition. It followed the manga perfectly. So there's this moment where the story kind of stops in the middle of the training arc and goes to Mikasa's kidnappers and the murder, and then immediately goes back. And there's no break. There's no like intermission. They just do this quick prop change, and then the story goes right back. So it follows that to the T. And I thought that was well done. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, No, I
yeah,
agree.
that was very smoothly done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
Because I was wondering if they would include that or not, and then it was like, oh yeah, they
Right.
did, and they did it
Here
quite
it
well.
is. Mm-hmm.
no, I think the actors did a good job of portraying the age they were trying to depict. So, one other scene I'll mention that I thought was really good was how a scene where they added Erwin and Levi into it. They took Pixis out and put Levi and Erwin in it. I believe they made that into a song, if I'm remembering correctly. And that was really good one because both of those guys, particularly Erwin, fantastic singers. Like, I'm sure he does other stuff. I know I read in the playbill, but him. So my favorite singers were him and Eren. They were both fantastic.
So what he does when he's not being Erwin Smith is he takes beautiful photos of himself with expensive whiskey. He's a model and he's beautiful. And I might follow him on Instagram. And yeah, he was amazing. And he did actually, he quarantined. He was in New York because he wanted to be a performer on Broadway and then the quarantine hit and so he went back to Japan, and so he finally got his dream. He got to come to New York and be on Broadway.
Wow.
I mean, off
talented.
Broadway, but
it was 5 blocks off Broadway. It literally where does Broadway end? Broadway ends at 40. I forget. Broadway ends, and you walk just 2 more blocks, and that's where they were performing. Barely off Broadway.
I'm just saying, it was a small stage.
It was. It seated about 2,500 people. Okay. Hange's song to the classrooms. I thought that was outstanding. Does anyone want to?
That was pretty good.
I don't know.
It was pretty creative. That one had a lot of fun, kind of typical choreography you'd see in a playful musical. It was less about hip hop dancing and more about playing with the props. And yeah, they did some break dancing. I mean, there was one. I think that was a little later actually, but regardless, yeah, they had a lot of good scenes there. That's where I expected us to get introduced actually to Reiner and Bertolt and all them, but no, it was a bunch of other random and Sasha. Connie was there too.
Randoms. It was the people that were actually in those chapters, except for it was Hans and Franna and Franz and Hannah. Yeah.
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 Mina Carolina and yeah.
Yeah, Mina was there. Yeah. Like there were characters that, I think the fan base would recognize. Some they wouldn't, but some that if they remember the first season, they'd be like, oh, yeah.
You know who was in it? There was a Brown in it, but it wasn't Reiner. Moses.
Yeah.
Moses.
Awesome. Hey, he's a little
he was
bit of
there.
a meme.
Like the opening scene of the anime was like the opening scene of the. I feel like his severed arm got an appearance. So
yeah,
I'm telling you, they covered
Moses.
the first 11 chapters. Moses was the star. I mean,
did they cut it before like the part where Eren punches Mikasa when she's on the roof?
Yes,
like, that part was not.
That wasn't part of it.
In it? No. Gotcha.
Yeah, that would have been awkward to end it there if she punches. Okay, my bad. There's still hope. We'll still fight. I really wish they would. I appreciate Momtaku's take on more of a positive spin on it. Like, hey, that's really hopeful things, and I get that, but I wish they would have finished out the arc or at least showed a little bit more because you miss the whole John and Marco scene with Marco, his death, as well as plugging the hole. I felt like we were building up to that, especially since Marco had more of a role, it felt like, in the musical than he did in the manga, at least up until that point. But unfortunately, that was just kind of lost potential.
Yeah, I was waiting for him to die, and then I was like, "Oh, he's still alive?"
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it begs the question: like, will there be more? Is that part 1? Will there be the Attack on Titan musical? Part 2?
How can there be a betrayal of Reiner and Bertolt betraying the rest of the survey corps?
I think to the point we made earlier is that this is meant for the fans. So I think even if you haven't seen like the first show, the first part of the Broadway or the musical, I think fans would understand that. Oh yeah, you have to have these two if you want to continue the story. And shoot, maybe they wouldn't even do it in part two. Maybe they would still exclude him. They wouldn't bring him back until the stuff after that. I don't know. I'm not a casting director or a producer in that case. But either way, I think that a part two is not likely, unfortunately. Because I say unfortunately as if, well, you know what? I guess I'm having conflicting feelings. On the one hand, like, it was strange. But on the other hand, I had a blast. So it's like,
I think this was fun to experience, but does it merit a second installment? I would say I'm okay with.
All right. So when it goes to London, I'm not inviting you. So
fine,
just so we're clear. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it wasn't.
No. Would you? So you wouldn't? Would you go see it again?
I mean, if you guys are coming to London, of course I'm coming. But other than that, no, I'm not.
I would see it again. Yeah, I would. Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it's a fun thing to bring, my fellow fans together and have a good time, and just an excuse to meet up, and also enjoy that one fandom thing you all enjoy. But I wouldn't make it the main trip. Like, it wouldn't be the main purpose. It would be. So when I was at the sitting down and the people next to me, are you here because of the musical? I was like, well, that's the reason why I'm here right now in New York, but I would have come another time otherwise.
Wait, they asked you that? The people next to you in the...
Yeah, because they were like, oh, you're from all the way from the Netherlands. Why are you here?
I see.
And I was like, no, it's not just because of the musical.
Let's go ahead and get into that, because I think that's what was fascinating to me. Now, okay, I'm just going to go on record and say that I loved it. I appreciate James's feeling. I had that same sense. And I appreciate, Luna being, that absence of Reiner Burton, and I agree. But like, it was almost a faithful adaptation of 11 chapters, and I loved it. I loved the music. I loved Hange. I loved Levi, or everything. Loved it. Would go back again and again and again. Would watch part 2 again, whatever. But the other part of me, the non-fan part of me, was sitting in that audience, looking around, going, this is the craziest thing I have ever experienced in my life, right? So I'm not going to say I've been to a lot of Broadway shows, but I've been to a dozen, like a lot. Okay, maybe I have been to a lot. I love Broadway shows. And like, this audience was like nothing I had ever seen. I read a write-up about it on the New York Times. They actually did write it up. And that's one thing that writer commented on, was that Broadway is kind of dying right now. The average age of a person in a Broadway seat is like in their 40s. That was not the case here. And they made the comment that every time one of these actors would step onto stage, that the crowd would start screaming, and like at a regular Broadway show, maybe Jonathan Groff steps on stage and people start screaming, or, Idina Menzel, or like Hugh Jackman. Like every single person was getting the Hugh Jackman treatment at the Attack on Titan musical. So did you guys, like, I know we talked to the people around us. Did you have any thoughts about the demographics or the audience, or any surprises? Like, who goes to see the Attack on Titan musical in New York City?
So, yeah, the average age, like, I've only been to like musicals in London, and there it was just like your average audience, just, not just average. And then when I went to a musical here in the Netherlands, it was a geriatric. It was like somebody went past a retirement home and picked everyone up. I felt so young being there. And then, this was the complete opposite. This was like, I feel like a lot of Gen Z, like very, like mid-20s, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely a younger crowd. But what really got me was that the people sitting next to me weren't there because they liked Attack on Titan. No, they were there because they loved the actor playing Eren. They were a huge fan of him, and that's why they were there. So one of them had never even seen or read any of Attack on Titan.
Wow. I never thought anyone that hadn't read or seen Attack on Titan before would attend a play, something like this.
No, that I was surprised too.
Yeah, this actor, the Japanese actor that played Eren Yeager, also played in the stage production of Banana Fish as I don't know, I can't remember the dark-haired guy that, yeah. He's been in a lot of these 2.5D musicals, and apparently it was his first time out of Japan. So to fly from California to New York, I guess, is a little bit easier than flying to Japan to try to catch a stage show.
True, yeah, because they were from California, yeah. And that's the funny thing, because they'd never even seen one of those musicals in Japan either. So I don't know how you get to be a fan of this person. Like, do they buy the DVDs of the shows after? Do they even get
I don't
DVDs?
know.
So I should have asked them more, but yeah.
I think the Eren actor has done stuff besides the stage productions. If I'm remembering the playbill correctly, I have it around
The
here
playbill
somewhere.
is here somewhere.
Well, I know that the Jean actor, his bio was like,
Yeah.
a page.
Jean's actor was like never ending story, and then Eren was like this much.
Oh.
My experience with the audience, one of the first things I noted was how young everybody looked. Clearly, because you really got to be a fan of the show. I don't think everybody was. Like, some people, I think, generally just there because, wow, this is a strange thing. I got time. I'll go see it. Well, I mean, you had to buy tickets beforehand, but regardless, I think it's wrong to say that everybody was a fan of the show who was there. But the other thing I noticed was, and this probably has something to do with the age, how kind of like Broadway rookies they were. Basically, they didn't know what a playbill was. They didn't know sort of the etiquette things that go on. And as Momtaku was saying, people would be cheering when someone comes on stage. I mean, that's fun and all, but it's also not really proper etiquette in watching a play. But, I'm not going to be like, shut up! Everybody shut up! Try to watch! I'm not going to do that. But yeah, certainly not something that a seasoned veteran would do. But yeah, so to me it was, oh wow, this must be a lot of people's first time in a Broadway show, or New York play, whatever you want to call it.
So that's for sure. When Luna and I were flying back to our home, she came home with me for the day. We met a guy wearing an Attack on Titan musical t-shirt. He was, correct me if I'm wrong, 21 years old, had never traveled alone, had never been to New York, had never been to a Broadway musical. 21-year-old guy works at a gas station.
Wow.
I mean, like, took the time to buy a ticket to fly to New York City solo and go to the Attack on Titan musical. Like, there are like Broadway analysts that would hear that would be like, how do we get these people? What? How did they do this?
Wow.
Well, by the way, I checked the playbill, and Eren has he's mostly stage stuff, so it wasn't. I misspoke. But the one who did Mikasa was the one who did stuff besides plays. Like, she's actually done voice acting and things like that. But anyway,
the John Kirsten guy has to be like a J-pop star, because he just was
his resume was pretty intense.
And he's in his 30s or older. He's definitely older cast member. The New York Times article on it talked about, like, and I thought the article was excellent. Probably should have shared the link with you guys, but it was like, a lot of Broadway shows now are pop culture. I mean, is it like Cyndi Lauper has one, George Michael's has one, Beetlejuice has one, like these celebrities and songs and movies from the 80s and 90s are now Broadway productions. And this person's was asking, why not anime? Like, it's not that much of a stretch. If you're going to bring Beetlejuice or Footloose or, insert random 90s whatever.
Transformers, Ninja Turtles. Yeah. Actually, I don't know. One of those two.
Why not? Why not bring anime? So I thought that was a good point.
I mean, that's a way to capitalize on nostalgia, right? Like, and for us, I think we all grew up with, 3 out of the 4 of us grew up with anime.
Wow. Well, Japan's already doing it, or has been doing it for years. Like, they have the 2.5 stage shows. So I hope that this is a new precedent for them to bring the shows from Tokyo to New York or other parts of the country or the world, and get people excited to get back to the stage and see these productions.
Exactly. Do you think this might have been a test case for that to see if it would work?
Oh, if it wasn't, it should be. They should definitely look at it and be like, wow, we need to get the Jujutsu Kaisen stage play to get over here or something. I don't know. There's something that has a big fan base in America, and if it has a stage play, bring it over to the States.
I do feel like this might have been a test case for it. And I think so. It was a good one because it sold out all 4 shows. The merchandise sold out. You guys weren't able to get a t-shirt.
Pissed about that.
Or a
That's the one thing I wanted.
That's the only reason why I want to go to London to get the t-shirt. That's why I would come to London. Because even we went on Saturday during the matinee, and the t-shirts were completely sold out. During the night, I think they were sold out. And then we had a friend who went the next day on Sunday, and they didn't even have any of the, mugs and t-shirts left. So they didn't plan accordingly. Like, we'll release like X amount of items for each show. They just put them all out for the first and I guess second show. And then what ran out. That was kind of, I don't know. I would have felt annoyed by that if I went on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And the merch was expensive. It was like 2 to 3 times the price that it was in Japan. But I guess with ticket prices being relatively low, they brought the entire cast. They brought the Japanese sound technicians, the Japanese puppeteers. I mean, it was the original cast, every single member. They had to have flown, I don't know, James, 50 people from Japan to New York?
I think, around there. If not 100, probably 50.
Put them in a hotel room for a week in New York City, and hopefully they made money.
I hope so, but they say in the playbill they brought the whole production team, so at least the majority of them. So and to touching on that with the Japanese team coming, there was a lot of Japanese people in the audience as well. I don't know why I was, but I was expecting it to be mostly Americans, maybe Canadians, just people in the area, not actual people from Japan who flew all the way over here, or maybe Japanese people who are just living in America or close by. But yeah, it was a pretty big Japanese audience there. I was hearing Japanese left and right.
So, Petter, that's my story. Is I was opening my blind box items because it's always blind box items. I'm right before I got to the show an hour early so that I was guaranteed to get a T-shirt. And I got my blind box items, and I'm sitting at a table opening them. We had an hour to go before the show still. And I was standing next to a group of Japanese women. There were 5 of them, and a couple of them were probably my age. Like, they were not children. They were 20s, 30s, 40s. One of them looked maybe 60. They had flown from Tokyo to New York and had gotten tickets to every single show and had brought their merch from the Osaka run with them. And I'm talking to them, and I don't speak Japanese. They don't speak English. So we got a little bit of a problem here. But I'm like, have you met the actors? Do you know them? And they're like, nope, never met them. Literally, like, that's the level of obsession that these people have. And I think what struck me was, like, I was super curious about them because, I mean, it's a group of women from Japan who flew to New York City to watch every single performance. And they were looking at me the same way, like, shocked. Like, what is this woman doing here? And I think the Japanese fans were as surprised about us as we were about them. And it made me think that we've kind of always heard that, like, anime and manga in Japan, they don't really care about a Western audience. We're not even on the radar. And it reminded me of that. Like, they had no idea that we exist as a fandom. It was cool. It was super cool.
Interesting.
That's fun.
Yeah, I like that idea that, what, you're interested in this? What? Like, you're interested in something from my pop culture? That's so weird.
I mean, that's the exact conversation was they just, you know this? I'm like, yeah, love it. Love it. So
that's awesome.
That's cool though. Cool to have that experience. Like, talk to people
cool.
from Japan about it. That's cool.
Yeah.
I do have a few little questions, just as someone who didn't go to the show, to people who did go, things that I'm curious about, and things that I imagine that others who didn't or haven't seen it are curious about. Just a few little things. So you mentioned during Carla's that scene, there was a Titan kind of on a screen. Was that all of the Titans, or did they do Titans in other creative ways?
So it was just, I think, Carla's smiling, or the smiling Titan that they projected on like the backdrop, more or less.
They had more than Carla. There was others that they had on the backdrop during the
90% of the Titans were screened.
Yeah.
They were pre-recorded screened images.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
well,
Alright.
the ones that stick out most to me are the Armor Titan, Eren's Attack Titan, and then the Colossal, because those were actual props. And yeah, that was kind of funny because, you know, you had people like running around in like completely black bodycon suits, like moving these props around. That was really fun to see.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Like, did it work? Like, was it good?
For what it was, I think it worked well.
I liked it. I thought it was a really clever way of doing it without, you know, completely blowing the budget. You know, I liked it. I mean, the only way I could think it'd be different was if it was like automated.
Mm.
Yeah, I thought it worked really well. I mean, you could see the puppeteers like moving the arms. I
Yeah.
thought that felt very Broadway to me. Like that's how Broadway. I think about
And
Lion
also
King when
Japanese
they're moving
show,
the.
you know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, very Lion King, but Japan theater will have like some of their doll puppet shows they'll have all in black, and so you're not supposed to be able to pay attention to them. You just pay attention to the doll that they're working with, and so it's kind of like that. It gave me those kind of vibes. And then the Colossal Titan was just this big blow up doll. That's the best way I can explain it, but it was very inflated by air. But the way
Petter's eyebrows just went up to his forehead. Like, doll?
Yeah, you know, a balloon. I don't know how you say it, but it looked pretty good. Like I thought it was pretty good quality, and then how the hand would come out, and you know, it was a really big hand, probably close to the size it should be. And yeah, it was. I thought that was done pretty well.
Hey,
Cool.
I noticed so when they had Levi on the 3DMG, they'd have him on a platform and he would spin up and there would be Titans on the screen behind him. And
Mhm.
when he would fling out his arms, the Titan on the screen would blow up. So they coordinated the actors with what was happening on the screen, which was, I thought, incredibly well done. That could not have been easy to time.
No.
So there was interaction between the actors and the 2D Titans behind them where they would coordinate the attack with the action that was happening on the screen. It was plenty creepy.
That's cool.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but there were like actual like humans playing the Titans in like these bodycon suits that looked like.
I was going to mention
those to me look kind of cheap, like they got them from Amazon. Like
it was like the
those
very
were kind of-
beginning. I don't
true.
know. I guess they were trying to set the stage and just set the mood. I don't know, but they had this creepy dance scene of these guys in bodysuits. They didn't look big. They just were on the stage, just a troupe of them, and they were doing their funky dances.
Wait, the Titans were dancing?
It kicked off with people in Titan costumes, and it was like it was the crab Titan, the spider Titan, like they were doing all these weird. It was weird.
It wasn't very coordinated, like
No.
you know, a hip hop dance, like how I described. This one was very hectic, but also you know.
If anybody had walked into
talented.
that theater and sat down who did not know the story, would they have made it through the first number? I don't know.
Is this the right show?
This is where you're like, God damn, I'm out a lot money. Do I sing? And
Wow.
And that's
Do
the
I
only
see it
time
through?
they used people in Titan costumes. Everything else
Yeah.
was puppetry or
or the screen. I mean, they were in costumes on the screen, but you know,
Yeah.
they look giant.
Okay. So they didn't use like CGI imagery on the screens.
No.
It
No.
was
It
like
honestly looked like
recorded.
naked people wearing masks on with
Yep.
a grainy filter. It looked like naked giant humans wearing masks. It was very disconcerting at first. At first, I was just like, "Oh, I don't know." But I got you.
I mean, when you think about it, it's like, I mean, that's kind of what it is, though. You know, like in real life, if Titans were real,
Yeah, in real life.
thank goodness.
I don't want to go too far into this, but they were naked enough that when you got like the frontals part, it was just, and there was nothing there. I was just like, they were very human looking, except no genitalia. It was, I'm probably the only person that thought that, but it was like,
No,
I mean, I don't know. They might have been naked.
No, they weren't. But it did look like it.
But it looked pretty close. Like, yeah. Anyway, yeah, yeah. But it was. I was impressed. They reached 13 figures. No, I was impressed with what they did without being a huge Broadway show.
I will say I really enjoyed the 3DM maneuvering, especially Levi's. Like he was spinning around on there, and it looked fancy. It really did.
So they were actually like swinging around in wires for real.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
They did the scene where Eren, remember how Eren can't use the 3D MG? They had him strung upside down.
Oh, right, yeah.
Dangling upside down because he can't get the hang of it. And I know Luna remembers that because that's the moment where the other cast member said, you should talk to Reiner about how to do it.
So it's like the one name drop.
The one name drop, exactly.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So, they weren't really zipping around on stage too much. And if they were, it was usually one at a time. Now, this is kind of going into hearsay, but this is based on what you guys were telling me, that they originally had planned it not to be a musical, and there was going to be, the 3DM maneuvering and back and forth. But because there was an accident, a pretty serious one, they had to step back and say, okay, we need to rethink this. How are we going to do this? And that's why it became a musical. But I don't know
if that was why A led to B, but I do know that like with the New York show of the Spider-Man production, where there were many injuries, the one in Japan, they were planning had a fatal accident. So they scrapped it all together. Then afterwards, so I was kind of surprised to see them swinging around because of, there's been a history with so many accidents, but they did it perfectly. It went wonderfully, and it looked really cool. So
I did notice that, I'm following the actors on Instagram now, and they were very grateful for an accident-free show. And maybe that's just what Japanese people say. Like, here it's break a leg. Maybe there it's like, an accident-free show. But for sure, the stage show was developed in 2016 and canceled when one of the acrobats died from falling from the ODM gear mechanics. So I don't think that's why we got the musical. Like Luna said, I think it's they changed how they were going to do it.
How they were going to do it. Got it. So maybe it was always musical. Maybe that's what it was.
I still Attack on Titan musical. I'm sorry. I will never be over this ever.
Part of me wishes I could have seen it as not a musical, just to see what it would have been like as a stage play. Mm-hmm. But I at the same time, I'm still glad we got to experience what it was and just see their idea and just enjoy it, just have a good time.
And we got to see it with you, which was very cool.
I mean, it's definitely an interesting concept.
Yeah, it was. I wanted to ask Petter a question real quick, just and maybe whoever's listening could also answer in whatever comments that there is. What 2.5 show would you want to see come to America, whether it's in Japan right now or not? What is a anime show or a manga series that you would like to see adapted on stage?
And not necessarily as a musical, right? Or
it doesn't have to be a musical, I guess.
Okay. I mean, I feel like it makes the most sense for it to be a Japanese IP. Just based on the 2.5D thing is such a Japanese concept.
Yeah, it needs to be manga or anime.
Right, yeah. I would, since I think
I already know the answer.
I'm gonna pick probably my favorite manga that there is, because I think that would be cool to see a live action stage adaptation of, and it's Vinland Saga.
Yeah,
it would be very fun to see a bunch of Japanese people going around, trying to be Scandinavians.
I think a musical with that would be interesting as well. There may be the same kind of disconnect or dissonance or whatever, but I think it still would be a fun performance. And some of the choreography of the fight scenes would be really cool to see on stage. I actually thought you were going to say Kaguya-sama. I thought you were going to say Kaguya-sama Love is War.
I thought it would be either that one or Vinland Saga. So
actually, though, I'm gonna change my answer real quick. Not to Kaguya-sama, although that didn't even cross my mind. No, but probably maybe it is a bit more obscure one, but not unknown one. Asadora by Naoki Urasawa. I
You
think
do love
that
that
one
one.
would be interesting to see in that kind of a way, because there are like, it would require special effects, but I think they are the type of special effects that a 2.5D stage play could pull off. So I think there's like good potential for that to be a 2.5D. Not that I've been to one.
No, that good choices. Good choices. I like that. I like that. I think Vinland Saga for me would be one I want to see, to be honest.
I think they would all suffer from that same problem of, you've got an hour and a half or 2 hours to tell a story that,
Yeah.
encompasses dozens of volumes. How do you
Yeah.
effectively, I think that's where Attack on Titan, any stage play, musical, whatever, it's going to be the fact that it's this much story being crammed into it, itty bitty little 2 hours, and you cannot do that satisfyingly.
So mine is, I got this one in Japan. It's Yukimura Sanada.
Oh, is that from Sword Art Online? No?
No. This
Dang
is
it.
from the Senkoku period, like
Oh.
one of the samurai and
Oh.
like the Samurai Warrior games. I've been playing those since I was 16, but of course it's like an actual historical event that took place.
Right.
So I know they did do actually like a stage play or like a 2.5 like production in Japan. So if they could bring it here, who knows? That would be cool. And then the second one is Devil May Cry. I really love, this is Virgil. And because we're getting the Netflix adaptation soon, the animated version where Johnny Young Bosch is playing Dante instead of his nephew.
Oh,
like he does in the video games. So that's going to be an interesting take. But yeah, there's a lot of action and flying and shooting and sword fighting in that as well. So
I didn't think about video games. That kind of opens the door for all sorts of possibilities when you include that.
True.
So
Zelda.
I put mine in the chat, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, but I'm hoping James will.
Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinju.
Thank you. So I just call it the Rakugo anime. But if you guys haven't seen that one, it was fantastic. It's about two boys, who want to become Rakugo performers. So like the story is told using the traditional Rakugo storytelling, and then also like, and it's kind of World War II. I don't know. It's fantastic. But I just think it'd be so much fun to actually see a Rakugo performance on stage. So I'd get like a 2-for-1 deal.
Yeah.
Cool.
Check that one out if you've not seen it. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
2 seasons, easy to watch. Petter, any other questions about the musical before we take a break?
2 small questions.
Okay.
First one, I guess about the set design. Like, what was that like? Like, was it like good quality? Did it look all right?
It was very basic, I would say. It was mostly the screens and the backdrop, and they did have some additional like props for when Carla got stuck, but I don't remember much else.
The kidnapping scene, I mean, they did a good job of immediately transporting the training ground into a house. And
that's true.
Very minimal, but I mean, it was effective.
Yes, I would say, it was effective, but very bare bones, the set.
Gotcha.
Itself. It was more, I think the value went into like hiring the actors, like good quality singers, dancers, and probably like the rest of the like extras and the props. I think that's where the money went.
Stuff. Yeah, I get that. That's fair. And last question about the costumes. Like, what were they like? I imagine there were a lot of blonde wigs.
Yes.
No, more like a lot of dyed hair and some blonde wigs. That actually, I did notice that anytime like a big theatrical performance was ending and they'd lower the lights, you'd see the actors quickly readjusting their wigs.
Oh, that's funny.
Because I mean, they are dancing, they are going at it, and but yeah,
there's one guy who was literally spitting on the floor on his head, like as a top, and he was going for like a minute. It was crazy.
I would say 2 minutes.
Maybe 2 minutes. Yeah, you're right. It was a long time.
So distracting at that point. Like nobody was paying attention to what was happening because everyone was like, "Oh my God, is he okay? When is this?" Nobody
is he
could
gonna
focus
throw
on
up?
anything. Yeah, I would say at least 2
What?
minutes. He did not
I mean,
stop.
when the show was over, he got a lot of applause when they called
He
him on
did.
stage.
He did. He was a very good breakdancer.
Mhm.
Wow.
Take that, Reagan.
I wish you could have been there, Petter. It was honestly like, I'm going to put it up. Like, I keep thinking I've reached my zenith as a fan, like getting to go to Anime NYC, getting to see Isayama, going to Japan for Erwin's birthday. I mean, like, just everything, right? But going to the Attack on Titan musical in New York City, like, it's got to be way up there. It was so much fun. And like, maybe part of it is similar to the Anime NYC experience where you're just sitting there with thousands of people who love the thing you love as much as you love it. Like, that was cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Super jelly.
Yeah. Well,
That's
if, as I
awesome.
predict, this is a test case, I would not be surprised if it did not travel next. It is on tour. Like, I got the T-shirt on the back, shows the tour dates. Now it's just back to Japan for 2 different events, but I wouldn't be surprised if they try it one more time with some shows in Europe. So we shall see. So maybe we can all
You
do it
better
again.
book a ticket for me next time.
All right, well, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, I thought we'd touch briefly on the Kodansha house that we all got to do while we were there. You missed that too, Petter. And maybe just a couple words about, I mean, we happen to be recording this right as Bessatsu Shonen released its 15th anniversary issue, which has a bunch of new information about Attack on Titan. Maybe we could discuss that briefly.
Sure.
Okay, we'll be back after the break. So welcome back. We're still here with James and Petter, and we wanted to finish off our New York trip with a discussion about the Kodansha Pop-Up House that also happened to be there the same weekend. And James, you were eventually able to get there. I know we didn't kidnap you soon enough to take you with us.
No, yeah, I had just enough time to get down to Soho to get to it, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'm glad I was able to get there and see the Vinland Saga stuff, but also the Attack on Titan stuff.
And apparently the author of Vinland Saga was there like 2 days after we left.
I know.
So I don't know what you know about the pop-up shop, Petter, but it was like, and James, you would know this better than me. It was like Japanese levels of well done. Like, it was really, really cool. The entire front of the pop-up shop is manga volumes. Like I guess they built a prop. You walk in between the manga volumes, right? Between
I
Attack
believe
on
I
Titan.
saw a picture
Yes.
of Makoto Yukimura at that facade, or like by
That
there.
could be, yeah.
And then, of course, they had the stills from Attack on Titan from My Hat Atelier. I don't know how to...
Yeah.
Akira.
Which Hat Atelier, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Akira. And... Yes. Yeah, and an interactive kind of play area for Attack on Titan where you got to be the Titan. They made a little video of you. It was just incredibly cool and just such a fun way to like bring Attack on Titan into the trip a little, something a little bit extra.
Nice.
Did you see any pictures of the pop-up, Petter? Or
I don't think so, other than just the outside of the building.
I definitely put pictures on the Discord. I don't know if you
yeah, right.
With
I believe I saw some of your pictures there. Yeah, that's right.
Was it crowded when you went, James?
The most crowded part was the line to take pictures with the bike for Akira. That line was almost out the door.
So that kind of broke down while we were there. Like something went wrong with the filming or picture taking part of the experience. So there was no one there. Also, we were right there when it opened at noon, I think. So
11. We were in line waiting outside because waiting in line for Attack on Titan is what I do.
It's how you spend your time.
Yeah.
No, the lines for the wall to be the colossal Titan, that wasn't very long at all.
Did you do it?
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah. You know, I did it in like 3 different angles too. You know, I had him take my camera. You know, I did it. It was great. It was fantastic.
Okay,
It
we
was
need
really
those
fun.
videos.
Yeah, because you could dress up like in a hoodie to look like it would zip all the way up, so you could look like
You cover your
the
face.
colossal.
Yeah.
And then they gave you like little gummies to eat, so you could pretend you were eating humans. It was so cool. And like the model of like Shiganshina was really well done. I really
It was
liked
very
it.
well done. Yeah,
Oh,
and
that
they
sounds
even had
awesome.
like a fog machine coming out of it. You know, in certain places. You know, it's very nice.
Yeah, they really thought well about that interactive experience. I appreciated that.
I wonder if it was coordinated in any way, or if it just so happened that Kodansha decides to have a pop-up shop the same week that the Attack on Titan musical is in New York City. But anyway, it worked out really well for us because, like I said, it made the weekend even like more nerdy and fun. And the other big news this week was the 15th anniversary edition of Bessatsu Shonen, which, from what I understand, was 100% devoted to Attack on Titan. Have you guys read anything about that or seen it, or did anybody order it?
No, I didn't order it, unfortunately. But I have heard little things like that's where the recent Isayama interviews come from, correct? So
I
I've
think
read
it's
some
more
of
like
the
a Q&A. I haven't seen an
Q&A, I
interview
should say that,
translated
yes.
yet, but the Q&A.
Q&A, yeah. I should have clarified. Yeah, the Q&A. And so I've seen some of those question and answers. I don't know, maybe I've seen all of them. I don't know. It's kind of hard to go off. I mean, I looked at the 2 pages that were online that people were sharing, but I don't know if there was more or not.
Well, I thought there were some in there that were really good because usually when we ask Isayama something, if he's not explicitly said it in the story, he doesn't give us a lot, right?
Yeah.
He never really
That's true.
answers the questions. But I'm going to share this Twitter thread that I'm looking at. We did finally get like a little bit of information about Hanji's background, which I didn't think we were ever going to get. Whether or not Hanji would have ever settled down and whether or not they have any family. I mean, it's not in the manga, so people don't have to take it as canon. But Isayama basically said that in his mind, Hanji is estranged from their family and that they never would have settled down. They would have been too busy.
I think that fits. I mean, everyone has their own headcanon, but I think that kind of fits. And maybe the strange part is just because she just never kept in touch with them, just too busy focusing on other things, or they never kept in touch with them.
Petter, do you think the colossal titans involved in the rumbling eventually turned back into humans?
I have actually read the answer to that one already. and I think the answer, they did, I think it makes a lot of sense. Like, they were originally humans, and when the Titan curse vanished from the world, naturally they would revert to the humans that they were initially. That being said, I think he added something about them being prosecuted for having rumbled the world by the other people in the world, which is so not fair because obviously they were not in control of anything while they were colossal titans or wall titans. So that's kind of tragic.
No, but I can imagine if you just saw like your entire country be mercilessly slaughtered by these colossal titans, you would be like, oh, well, guess who is like naked and afraid now? And
yeah, right. It makes sense, but it's very tragic.
Yeah.
It's very cruel.
We were so concerned about the world population being decimated, and how many wall titans were there? I mean, suddenly your population and tens of thousands of people.
Yeah, that's also the thing. Like, how many wall titans would there be compared to the people who survived?
Yeah.
Right. That's a very good question.
Also, they would be scattered all over the world. They wouldn't be like, oh, hey, we're now all together back on parity. No.
Yeah.
Okay, the burning question that I have had since probably chapter 15, what happens if a man inherits the Titan female powers?
Yes.
Burning question, y'all. I probably have a Tumblr post about this about it 10 years ago where we talked about this and tried to figure out what we think would have happened.
So before you get to the answer, what would you have thought would happen?
I've always been a little bit salty about the female Titan just because, like, Isayama concepted it when he was an 18-year-old boy. So, of course, like, oh, a female Titan. We always wondered, like, she doesn't have any cool powers. She doesn't have any armor. She's not colossal. Like, what the heck is the female power? Like, what's a female power besides boobs?
She does have cool powers, right?
Does she? What's her cool power?
What
She
was
can
her
call
power?
the other Titans, right? She has
Well,
that
I
screech.
think- Well, I think the screech was because she stole it from.
Oh yeah, because she
Zeke
was
or
fed
whatever.
other Titans, right?
Yeah,
Or parts
yeah.
of
I
other
believe,
Titans.
or
yeah.
I interpreted, like, near the end of the story, I interpreted it as if the female Titan having an especially easy time adapting other Titan powers.
Yeah.
That's why she has, like, the screech from the founder, probably.
I think it was all retrofitted. I think he just saw hot
Yeah,
female Titan.
sure.
I could totally get that.
Definitely,
Totally.
yeah.
And it's not that exciting compared to the other ones. you know?
No.
Let's be honest.
I do also, though, I like, in addition to, like, her power working in that kind of a way that I interpret, I also kind of see it, obviously not as I don't think Isayama intended it this way originally, but in hindsight, I can also view the female Titan as representing Emir Fritz's femininity.
Yeah. I
Somehow.
mean,
Interesting.
anyway, apparently the female's Titan superpower is having female body parts. So if a man became a female Titan, he would have female features. So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
I think my question about that always was, does it have to be if the female who inherited, or like if the I mean, it would never pass anybody who's not a woman? But I guess not in this case, or at least in this hypothetical question.
I mean, if Eren had chomped on the female Titan, he would have inherited the female Titan powers.
He would have grown boobs.
You would have grown boobs.
All right,
yeah.
new fan art. Let's go. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm sure it's out there, James. I'm sure it's already out there.
You're right. Think about it. It's already there.
Yep.
All right. He was also asked the question, did the Ackerman powers disappear with the fading of the Titan powers? And I know you guys talked about that on your podcast. I know we did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What answer had you come up with?
I think we naturally assume that it would disappear.
Yeah.
Because it is so connected to the Titan powers. And I even speculated that Levi's injuries would have healed if he had maintained, or like if he still would have had the Ackerman powers. But since they vanished, he never healed properly.
Agreed.
Well, I mean, I think we'd all assumed it, but it was nice to get confirmation. But we didn't get, nobody asked him if Levi could walk, which I'm surprised by.
I don't remember in Bad Boy if he was just seen at a table drinking tea, right? Or maybe Falco and Gabi help him move around, or I don't know.
Oh, speaking of Gabi and Falco, what about the question regarding them?
Yeah, of course, they lived happily ever after, duh.
I didn't read that one, I think.
It's kind of like what happened to them, and he's like, they spent the rest of their lives together. He doesn't say in what capacity, but you know.
Of course he wouldn't.
Well, and also he says that Falco doesn't remember his confession.
Confessing to Gabi, yeah.
Because he turned to a Titan. I guess that was part of the segment of the memory he lost. So it's almost like back to square one, kind of.
And that was such a good
that's so
scene.
But Gabi remembers. Gabi remembers. So
True.
that's
Gabi remembers.
that's something.
I think a lot of people people that didn't like Gabi and Falco, like they did get their happy ending, and I'm like, yes.
Just more than Eren ever got.
So that was one of the other questions. People wanted to know the specifics of whether or not Eren had these like paths conversations with the other characters.
Mm.
And Isayama indicated it would have been, I forget what he said exactly, like volumes and volumes to talk about.
Or something?
Yeah.
18 chapters or something. It was
What
something
did he say
crazy.
per character? Like it was a big
Yeah.
deal.
It was
I think
pretty,
so, yeah. It
was
would have
pretty
required
intense.
a couple more chapters.
A lot more work. And I think Petter and I kind of speculated, like, or assumed that he had the like similar conversations that he did with Armin. I don't know if it was the same thing as, Mikasa and him being in a cabin, but it certainly, I think it would have been the Armin one-to-one conversation type stuff.
Yeah, if this translation is right, he said 18 pages each conversation, maybe. Although this person isn't clear on on whether or not they translate it correctly. And there was no like definite thing about whether or not he had a talk with Captain Levi as well. But I would assume if he talked to everybody, he talked to them as well. I don't know. Did any of the other questions stand out to you? Well, I feel like a lot of it was stuff we knew, but there was just a couple there that was like things we'd considered and probably had the right answers, but it's nice to get absolute confirmation.
My favorite was, what kind of career do you think Eren would
Yes.
pursue?
Right.
And he's like, Eren would be a problem child still, would not be able to hold down a job, would not fit into society.
And he mentions specifically Japanese society, which I mean, obviously he's only pulling from his personal experience, Isayama's experience, of course, but Eren's wouldn't be from Japan, right? Like, wouldn't I mean, I'm not saying America like how school cast is, but European or something. So I don't know. I'm not saying that would change necessarily how he goes about life per se. Who knows? But I don't know. It was interesting that he specifically mentioned Japanese society. He'd struggle.
Well, I guess he probably doesn't know too much about how an actual German modern society really functions, like the ins and outs of it, like a Japanese society does. So
That's fair.
Isn't it especially damning? I know you lived in Japan for a while, that he would not be able to hold down a job like that. I think that's a lot more of a serious crime in Japan than it would be anywhere else.
You have the cases of those who just kind of drop out of society and just end up, holed up in their houses, which is unfortunate.
Well, Japan also has more of the lifetime employment still, right?
Yeah, they do. So I don't know. I do see what he's saying though, or I see what he's saying, but I feel bad for Eren. Like, oh man, that's kind of the future that he would have. Oh.
Because he is a piece of...
I feel like it makes sense though, given his character. One of my favorite comments or answers from Isayama was regarding the vanishing of the Ackerpowers that we were talking about, and he straight up says that Mikasa would just become bad at sports, like straight up bad, like not even like mediocre or anything. Like she would be bad at sports without the Ackerpower, without the Ackerman sense.
I would have to think about like her scene, like where she's like in the Tross arc, where she's like, "I'm strong." Like that's such a big part of like who she is as well. Like the dependable one, the strong one, and then that all falls away. Eren is gone, and then it's like, well, yeah, no wonder she ends up with Jean. Like this little dweeb who is like fawning after her. Of course.
Wow.
That is not
like,
it's not you don't know that. We don't know that.
I'm just saying, like, that girl must have fallen into a deep depression. Like,
yeah,
it's not just like
absolutely.
She's lost Eren, but like a huge part of who she is as a person, and as well, gone.
It's a great point.
Plus her whole, well, she goes back at least to live on Paradis, so at least she has her home more or less. But
right.
So another feature of the 15th anniversary was they did a poll about favorite chapters, and they also asked Isayama and Yuki Kaji and Mikasa and Armin's voice actors their favorite chapters, and I thought that was really interesting. I don't know if you guys saw any of that, but the most popular chapter of Attack on Titan, I think specifically the question was like the chapter you fell in love with or your favorite. Yeah. It was Midnight Sun by twice as many votes as any other chapter. Midnight Sun. And I read some of the translated comments that people had written in with that. And I swear it was like opening a wound. It was like all that trauma when I was reading that chapter myself just came flooding back, like all the pain, all the agony, Levi's choice on the roof, like destroyed me. So it was like reading that was like reliving shared trauma, which was really nice. And the second favorite chapter of the population, the responders, was chapter 1, which I thought was nice. Isayama, he'd already told us his favorite chapter was 71, which was the bystander, the chapter where we got the mysteries of Shadis, which I always thought was fantastic. That's his favorite. And Eren's favorite was Warrior, chapter 42, where Reiner and Bertolt are revealed as the Titans.
Big one.
It's a good one.
And I thought you'd like this, James. Yui Ishikawa, Mikasa's voice actress, her favorite was chapter 1. Her second favorite was 138, The Long Dream, where they have the cabin scene. And yeah. So, but I mean, again, I don't know if we can trust these translations. You know, people kindly translate. I don't know if they're using machine translators or if they actually speak Japanese. But it looks like it's a great volume, and I'm really sad I didn't buy it now. Maybe I'll buy it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably still around.
Yeah.
Probably can find it. Maybe.
But it is nice, I think, to hear that Midnight Suns remains such a popular chapter.
Right.
After all, like it is, I still love how evenly split the fandom always was on the question, should Armin or Erwin have been saved? Like, pretty much from the release of the chapter up to the end of the manga, and probably still today, it's super even, like the two camps.
It's so true.
Very, very fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Yuki Kaji also highlighted that chapter as one of the, as his second favorite. He just talked about how painfully difficult it was, regardless of the situation, just the cruelty of the world. So, yeah, there's nothing like shared trauma, though, when everybody's hurt the same way by the same thing. I appreciate it.
Oh, yes.
Anyway, on stands now for people who want to buy it. All right. Well, I guess we were gonna end up quickly with the announcement of the global concert.
Woo-hoo. Yeah.
You guys think you're done with Attack on Titan? You're never done with Attack on Titan.
Never.
You can stop your Titan Tea Time podcast, but you're never done.
No.
I was telling Peter we should revive it somehow. No, that's fine.
I
remember last podcast Momtaku and I did about Attack on Titan. I was like, if there's something else, I'll eat a shoe. And then, of course, the musical was announced, and now we're done with that. They announced a concert tour, so it will never end.
Never. This is our life.
We are
stuck.
Truly blessed. We are.
It's all leading up to the sequel, guys. Just wait. I really don't think that, but. No, I mean, concert, I think it's fantastic. This is definitely something I've wanted, and I adore the OST from Attack on Titan, and I can't wait to hear it in concert. Thankfully, it's closer to me this time, so it's not too much of a financial burden. But even if it was only in New York and I could grab a ticket, I probably would have gone. But yeah, I'm super excited to have it near me.
And what date is your show? When are you going?
May 4th.
Okay. That's fast.
May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's pretty fast. I kind of wish it was more like November, like a whole year, but oh well. I guess less wait time for me.
Right.
So I remember like back in 2020, there was supposed to be a concert in Germany, in Leipzig. And of course, because it was in April of 2020, it got canceled.
I wonder why.
And that was the only concert, I think, for Attack on Titan that was ever going to take place here in Europe. So the fact that we got like a whole slew of choices, like there were 4 locations in Germany, Brussels, Paris, London. I'm very pleased that we have so many choices.
Same. And this, like, while I'm sure the musical was awesome, I don't doubt that, it didn't interest me that much, just like the idea itself. But a concert that will play the music from the anime that is that I know is awesome, and it's going to be a live orchestra, like that does have me interested, very much so. So yeah, I'm so stoked to go, and yeah, to listen to.
And you've already bought your ticket as well.
Yes, going to Germany in September.
Okay.
And I will be right there next to him.
Yes. Luna and I are actually meeting up. That's going to be awesome.
Yes. And I actually got to buy my ticket right next to his ticket, so.
You still got a partially obstructed view, so it's not that much different.
That's fine. It's a concert. It's not
right. We're still going to be able to listen. So that's
the most important part. So and Coffee Life suggested to bring some binoculars maybe to circumvent that issue.
Great.
We'll see.
I was looking at the dates, and it's funny because, like, I'm sure they're going to use local orchestras. They're not going to be flying a 100-piece orchestra around Europe and America. But it really is like there's no overlap. It's like they're here 2 days, or they're here, and then 2 days later they're here, and they just literally go all the way around the world. I think they get 1 month off in August, maybe, and then another month off, right before the November shows. So it made me wonder, like, which, I know it will be different concerts, but they must have special guests, or maybe just the conductor who will be at all the performances, which is why they staggered them the way they did.
Would assume it's like similar to the Final Fantasy Distant Worlds concert, because I think it's the same production company behind it. And for that, it's always the conductor that's traveling around. And
what about the vocalists?
They sometimes have vocalists. I know they use a choir as well for some pieces, and I don't know if the choir is local or not. I would think so, but I've never gotten like a close enough look at them to the concerts I went to see if they were like Japanese looking or like local. But yeah. But sometimes they bring special guests in. So we had the composer for Final Fantasy 15 and Kingdom Hearts was there at the last concert in Amsterdam. And also the performer Ostekidane from Final Fantasy X. She was there performing live.
Okay.
They do have special guests. So I don't know if they will bring anyone in. They might. Would be cool to see Revo pop up just for shits and giggles.
That'd be amazing.
Oof. That would be like that would be too good to be true.
If he goes, I'm sure he would go to Germany. He would have to go to at least one of the
right.
shows.
Like, Germany makes sense kind of for Attack on Titan music, just because,
It's Germany.
I mean, they have to have vocalists, right? I'm not crazy about that. They can't just have an orchestra. They've got to have.
No, I mean,
gotta.
The OST has vocals in it, like Sawano's songs.
They gotta
absolutely
perform UC Big Girl, right?
Right.
If anything, they gotta, and that needs.
Well,
vocals.
unless they do the instrumental versions, I don't know.
I guess that's possible. Yeah.
Well, James is first up, so he'll have to tell us, and then give us spoilers. And then if it's, I'll try to squeeze in a last minute ticket somewhere if it's like, if I absolutely cannot miss it. But currently, I'll be the one left out. So
really?
When we have when we have the next podcast about the concert, I'll be the one asking all the questions. Feeling left
For
out.
us, it won't be until September, so it's still a long time away.
Sure is.
Because when's the one in Atlanta? Also in like late April or May?
April 20th, and it's on a Wednesday night.
Oof.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually think the DC show would be the closest to me as well, but it would still require either a train. If it's 4 hours, so I'd be 4 hours getting there, 4 hours back, and
for just
so
a
I don't
Sunday,
know.
it's like.
And it's a Sunday. Washington's a Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sunday.
It's not as bad as a Wednesday.
There's 2 dates on Sunday. There's like a matinee and then a nighttime one.
Okay.
But I don't know. I think tickets are still up for that one. Like they haven't sold out completely. So just keep.
I am surprised though at how quick they're going. The tickets. You didn't expect that.
I was very surprised by that as well. But I mean, that's good. I'm glad they're making.
Making
money.
Be good. Gonna be good.
If it can do well with a worldwide concert, the fact that it got the musical in New York City, the fact that it's getting a global concert, like I just think it, regardless of how you feel about the ending or the particulars of it, we picked a fandom, we picked a series that I don't want to call it life-changing or society-changing but you know what I mean? Like,
well, it's influential.
Clearly I'm going to just say it, the most influential manga ever.
Wow, ever? I don't
might be
I don't know
a
if I
stretch.
could go ever yet. I don't know if I go ever yet because you do have.
It's not Pokemon, right?
In the past decade,
it came to New York City, global concert.
Yes.
What other? I mean, we'll take Miyazaki things out of the equation.
The other one I could think of is just Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. That's been not. I mean, the demographic wise is definitely mostly male audience. Attack on Titan seems to be a little wider demographic, but I still think that might be a little more influential.
Like Dragon Ball was like the gateway anime for a lot of people.
Yeah, for a long time.
All right, when Dragon Ball gets the New York musical adaptation
Fair.
and
Fair.
worldwide concert tour, I will agree with you.
Do you know how many video games posted. And how many shows they have? Like movies, Attack on Titan could never.
Yeah.
Yeah, how many movies? That's true.
Oh, gosh.
Like, okay.
But no,
and they're still making new stuff like to this day. Like
right.
The last decade. I'll go with James then. Of the last decade, the most influential.
Right.
And Luna mentioned like a gateway anime was Dragon Ball Z. But I think for a lot of people, including myself, Attack on Titan was kind of the gateway anime for a lot of people. And manga, it led people to really become fans of the medium. And I think that's why it has such a hold and popularity even after it's over. Not just because the story was, impactful and great. And I guess you could people can discuss whether they like the ending or not. But overall, I think you could agree it was a great product. But it just has the staying power even after it's done, that people still think about it, talk about it, and want more of it.
Definitely. And for me, it kind of meant like a renaissance of sorts of like getting back into anime. I think after like maybe when I turned 18, I was like, I'm not that interested in it anymore. And then, Attack on Titan came out. I was like, okay, yeah, now I'm interested again.
Right. Yeah, and I imagine others may have had a similar experience like that.
All right. Anything else?
I'm just waiting for that compilation movie or whatever you want to call it to get over here to the States.
Right,
the
with the exclusive post-credits scene.
That's the next big thing that I want to see.
Same, for sure.
Has there been an announcement of when we're going to get it?
I don't think so. I think there may have been an announcement that it is coming. Maybe, but I could be just making that up.
I'm sure it is. Every other one has come to the U.S., so I can't imagine they're going to stop now.
Well, we've never had any here. I don't know about Sweden, but
like Attack on Titan movies, not that I can remember. No, for this one, I'm keeping my hopes up though, just because it's the finale, is like the last attack. It's the big one. I'll keep my eyes out for it.
I didn't really watch the final season, so that would be a good excuse to kind of watch the movie.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe you sometimes.
And see, this is why I didn't think she'd want to come to the musical. She didn't even watch she didn't even read, well, she did read the final chapter.
I was just about to say, I have it on camera. There's a whole ass recording of me reading the final chapter.
She had no choice.
Yeah.
I had a special t-shirt made for it. Come on. I was going to come to Isayama's panel with you in 2022. And there's another Attack on Titan event in New York, and you're like, nah, we're not gonna invite one of my best, closest friends.
The salt is real.
I know.
The salt is always real. Oh, wow.
Salt Bay has got nothing on me. Already.
Well, I was just going to say, whether or not you think it's the most important or influential manga of the last decade, it has been an experience. And I'm so grateful all of you were part of my experience. James, it was so nice to get to spend the day with you in New York City. Luna, even though you're salty about how it happened, I'm glad it happened. We had a wonderful week of vacation together, went to the state fair. You got to eat fried Oreos. And
I did. I almost got to take my picture with a Trump cutout, but she wouldn't take it.
I would not take the picture. Yeah, it ended up being a great time.
I mean, you're going to be your future president again, so I don't know what the problem was.
Anyway.
Don't kill me.
And Petter, I'm sorry that you missed it. It would have been great to have Luna included you in that. But I'm glad you and Luna are going to get to do the concert. So I want to hear all about it.
I'm so excited.
Yes,
so.
please tell us.
And maybe James, I'll be calling you up saying, that I can't.
Yeah, let me know.
Maybe I can do it. Maybe I can swing it. On a Sunday is better than a Wednesday.
Definitely.
Definitely.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for being with us. Enjoyed it.
thank you for having us. It's been a blast catching up and talking about this. It kind of makes me miss the old days, when we had new manga chapters every month of Attack on Titan, and we talked about them on our podcast, and we had each other over and whatnot.
There's some things about it I don't miss. Some of the
definitely some parts of the fandom.
Some of the opinions and fighting and whatnot.
Yeah.
But others, but other things I do miss. There's a lot I miss.
Overall, it was amazing, and I do miss that time. I've actually recently been listening back to some of the early Titan Tea Time episodes and kind of just dreaming myself away.
I think we both, Momtaku and I, listened back to the joint one we did together, like the You Hear Tea Time episode. It's really enjoyable still.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I listened to it while cleaning my house a few weeks ago. Like, I like to listen to podcasts when I'm cleaning. And I decide, there's a couple episodes of our podcast and that one of yours and one other that it's just such a pick-me-up, was just a good time. Such a good time.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, until next time, bye.
Bye-bye.
See you later.
Bye. Do we want to mention the concert tour as well?
After the break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine.
It's on there. It's on the list.
Is
Look,
it?
Scroll down.
I don't see it. Where?
It's there.
Scroll. Page 2.
I'm on page 2. Where is it?
Announcement at the global concert.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Sorry.
In giant
Yeah.
48-point text.
I'm sorry.
We'll be back. We'll be back after the break. I'm leaving all that in there.
Okay.
No.